Okay, welcome everybody to the press conference. We've got Andrew Balbirnie, and if everyone can remain on mute unless they're called, that'd be great. Okay, we'll start with Nigel Ringland from BBC. Nigel? Okay, we go to Nathan Johns. Nathan.
Hi Val, how you doing? Um,
Nathan.
I guess is this a bit of a strange one, obviously, with the absentees for the T20s. I guess is this kind of like a precursor for any Red Bull later in the year, in that it's kind of hard to pick a team because there's so many new different combinations in there and trying to figure those out.
I don't think it's too hard to pick a team. I think it's kind of what we're going to have to deal with going forward. Naturally, in previous years, we've had our full squad available at all times, barring injury. It's kind of a unique scenario where we've got three of our key players who are being picked up in some of the top leagues in the world, and that exposure is so valuable to those players. Um, financially, it's big as well. There's no kind of hiding behind that. But it also gives us an opportunity to look at some players. I've spoken before about there not being a massive amount of Wolves cricket to kind of see guys and how they perform at that level. So these three games give us a look at a couple of new players who we haven't seen play international cricket before, and see how they can cope.
And obviously, yourself and Curtis are going off after the ODIs. Was there any question of that process, you being involved in those guys who are missing now, or is your arrangement that your replacement in Bangladesh?
Yeah, look, it was kind of spoken about that I might be able to play the first two games for my team in the BPL, but it was a bit messy with travel. So we kind of both agreed that it would be better if I just left for Bangladesh after the tour. I don't know what Curtis' situation was himself, but that's just kind of my personal thing about it. So yeah, look, it's a nice setup. You get to play a lot of cricket. It's nice to be able to go to Bangladesh and play at a place where we're going to spend the guts of a month in later on in the year, in March time. So it's good. It's good exposure for a lot of us to be playing these different leagues, and but we also have to find a balance and make sure that we're fresh and ready to go once international cricket is in front of us.
Is it fair to say that it's maybe a little bit of a blessing in disguise that you've lost two out of your top three? Because if you look at that World Cup squad, the depth was probably more so in the bowling and the guys you had to come in than the batting. So now you're kind of forced into figuring out, who's next up if anything does happen, especially in that top three.
Yeah, I think naturally we look at it as a positive. It's a positive for the guys who are going and getting exposure at those leagues. And it's a positive for us to see what our kind of stock is like, particularly in the batters. We have two guys who are going to bat in the top three tomorrow who are making their debut, and that's pretty exciting to be a part of and see how they adapt to the situation, but also give them the full backing to play the way they play. We know the way we want to play and how we've played over the last few months, and we want guys who come into the squad to buy into that as well. So yeah, hopefully we can see some exciting stuff over the next three games.
Sorry, just to follow up one more, if that's okay, Craig. Just because you said there two guys making their debut, obviously we can figure out who that is. Are you able to say the order?
Well, I mean, Ross is going to open up with me, and Stephen Doheney's going to bat three. Naturally, Paul and Lorcan are away. Ross has done some really impressive stuff at Interpro level, and deserves a chance. And we want him to, our key message to him is to just play no differently to the way he's played. He's unorthodox. He hits the ball a long way, and it's kind of exciting to see how he does. It's an incredible sporting story, if you like, and I know he's really excited for tomorrow. And Stephen's someone who's kind of a bit strange. He's been around the squad now for a long time, the guts of a year without actually getting that chance. But the way he's trained and carried himself has been really impressive, and he's naturally been disappointed when he hasn't played. And I've no doubt that he'll be chomping at the bit tomorrow once he gets going.
Thank you.
Andy, are you on your phone?
I am, yeah.
Is there a chance of turning the camera the phone horizontal.
Yep.
There, yeah,
That
that's
better?
TV likes it. Nigel from BBC. Nigel.
Yeah, hi there, Andrew. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, Nigel.
Hi there.
Loud and
I'm
clear.
just, actually, sort of, my thunder was stolen a little bit there. I just wanted to ask you about Ross Adara, but if I can maybe phrase the question this way, I'm just wondering, when you first came into the Ireland squad, who was it put their arm around you to give you advice on the eve of your debut? And what will you say to Ross? Obviously, tomorrow, as you say, he's going to be opening the batting with you. Will you sit him down this evening over dinner and have a chat with him, tell him what to expect?
Yeah, I had a brief chat with him yesterday. I wanted to give him as much kind of warning beforehand that he was going to get the nod. I remember when I got my debut, even my first 10 or 15 games, I maybe tried to play differently to how I naturally played, and that's what we wanted. That's our message to Ross. Is he's such a powerful opening batter, and he can do some real damage. But he also has to understand that it won't just happen in the first over or second over. You've sometimes got to bed yourself in a bit and then take advantage. So we're really excited to see how he goes. He's to have both him and Mark play together is pretty special. So yeah, I think I don't want to put any more added pressure on him, because international cricket is tough, but it's also a lot of fun, and the way he plays it is fun to watch. So hopefully he can just go out with that free mind and enjoy himself for the 3 games.
You mentioned there as well, Andrew, it's going to be such a busy year ahead. Finding strength and depth in the squad, and finding players that can step up to this level. How important for over the next couple of weeks in these T20s and one-day series? How important is to try and find players that can step up to the mark, because you never know this year when you might need them.
Yeah, 100% correct. It's particularly in T20 cricket, we obviously have qualifiers to come up, but the way that the game is going now and players playing in franchise leagues, there will be opportunities for guys who don't usually get a look in at international cricket to show us what they can do. And naturally, we've got to build, with the schedule we have to build as big a squad as we can, so that when injuries do naturally happen, we've got ready-made replacements. Wolves cricket is still very important and something that we need to maybe look at as a group and make sure that there are those opportunities for the guys who aren't playing at this level. But the bigger we can grow our squad, the greater knock-on it'll affect. It'll have an inter-pro cricket at home as well, because it'll give guys a chance at that level as well. So I think it's only a good thing the more exposure we get to these guys.
Andrew, appreciate it. Wish you all the very best, and to Ross as well.
Thank you, Nigel.
Bernard Whelan. Bernard.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi.
Happy New Year, and firstly, congrats on your Bangladesh gig as well.
Thank you.
It seems just only the other day you were lining out to play against Zimbabwe in the World Cup in Australia. I was just thinking then, with Christmas coming around and how much preparation have you had going into this particular tour?
Yeah, it's been different because we've naturally been home, training indoor, which is good if you want to work on some various things in your game. But I think you can't really beat being outside and facing bowlers on a grass net. We've had 2 good sessions and then a bit of an optional session today. Ideally, we would have had a bit more time, but that's the way it goes. But the guys are in really good spirits, and there's a lot of good stuff being done at training. So I think that's just the way it's going to be going forward. There's going to be a lot of traveling and very little prep time in some of the tours we go on. So the guys had a good Christmas break. The World Cup was a great roller coaster, which we really enjoyed. And it was nice to get some downtime. Some guys played some cricket around the world, and it's always nice to get back together and get into competitive cricket starting tomorrow.
And Zimbabwe themselves, you obviously know them very well. You've played them quite a few times now. Do you think playing there on their home soil, do you think that's a good place for, say, the newbies that you've been talking about there, the new caps, the new guys coming in? Do you think it's a good place for them to be getting experience?
I think any experience at this level is invaluable, and there's no easy games. If you like, international cricket is tough, and you can get the highest of highs and the lowest of lows in the space of a day. So it's a great place to tour Zimbabwe. It's always been a favorite of mine. The ground is is really nice here in Harare, and we get well looked after. So the boys are in pretty good spirit. It's a very kind of fresh, you take 2 or 3 of our senior guys out of it and you see new faces, and there is that buzz around. So yeah, I think the guys are really excited about, we've 2 guys making their debut for Ireland. That's amazing, and it's such a special day for those guys, and everyone else kind of feeds off that. So hopefully we can do that tomorrow.
And hopefully you're going to build on the momentum that the great results you got in the World Cup in Australia.
Yeah, and the results were there was 3 really positive results, and we were disappointed come the end of the World Cup that we didn't qualify, and I think that shows where we are as a group. We've been a big group, and our message throughout the year as a group has been to just go out and worry about the performance and being proud of the performance we put in, and the results will look after themselves. And a couple of those results did look after themselves at the end of the last year. So as long as our message is still the same and still clear to the players, then the results will be the results. But yeah, that's been and will continue to be our message.
Melha from Irish Post.
Hi, Andy. Hope you're well. Obviously, this
Thank
is Ireland's first tour in Zimbabwe since 2018. And how are you expecting the conditions to be? And would it be fair to say that there's going to be a greater emphasis on spin bowling?
Yeah, I think Harare has usually taken spin. I don't think we've actually, as a country, have played a T20 international in Zimbabwe. So we've had to look at some of the stats recently in T20 international cricket and look about how we can adapt our game to that as well. The weather's been okay. We had a pretty incredible lightning and thunderstorm last night with a lot of rain, but the ground takes it pretty well. So you might see a few interruptions as throughout both the T20 and 50 over games. But yeah, by and large, I think we're expecting it to be good cricket. 2 competitive teams who know each other pretty well, and I think it'll be pretty exciting.
Right. And you guys had a good T20 World Cup, but would have liked a few more wins. And how much was that shift of focus from results to performance help the team over the past 1 year?
Yeah, I think it's probably, we played a lot of cricket last year where the results actually were really important. So the World Cup qualifiers in Oman, the 50 over World Super League, and then the World Cup in that first week in Hobart, where the results were clearly so important. But I don't think that affected us too much in the way we played. We still wanted to play a certain way and backed ourselves to get over the line if we did that. Playing the top teams like India, South Africa, New Zealand, certainly no one expects you to beat those teams. So it gives you a bit more freedom to go out and just play and let the result look after itself. So there's definitely been a shift in mindset from the top in terms of myself and Heinrich, but I think the players are quickly realizing that that's the way we want to go about it.
Right. Thank you so much, and all the best.
Thanks.
Sajil from ICA Sports.
Hi, Andy. Hope you're well. This is Sajil
Hi.
from ICA Sports. My question is that first series of the year, how important is it to get off to a good start, saying that it is going to be a busy year for you guys?
Yeah, I think you always want to start a series well, start the year well. We have a lot of cricket coming up in all 3 formats. We're just off the back of a T20 World Cup, heading into a really important, I suppose, 50 over year with the World Cup at the end that we want to really get to. We also have qualifiers for T20 in the summer. So there's a lot of really important cricket, and sort of like what I said earlier about getting more expansion of our squad and making sure that we're fully adapt to whatever comes our way, whether it be conditions, injuries, that we're ready to kind of react to those situations. So it's exciting as an Irish cricketer to look at that kind of schedule and realise how much cricket you have. And it will be testing. There'll be a lot of hours on the road and in the air, but certainly once we get over the line, it'll be kind of work time, I suppose.
You just mentioned that you guys haven't played T20 International in Harare. So how do you assess the conditions so far you've seen, and how's the training sessions been?
Yeah, the training's been good. They've obviously had quite a bit of rain, so the practice wickets have been under covers for quite a bit, but they've still been pretty good. The wickets look pretty good for tomorrow. I never really like to get too far ahead of myself when I look at a wicket. I kind of just like to get there on the day and see what we're dealing with and react to it then. And so, look, we've played a fair bit of 50-over cricket here over the years. So I still expect it to be a pretty good wicket, maybe quite big, one side square from the looks of it, but pretty even the rest of the ground. So I suppose we'll just have to wait and see when we get there tomorrow.
Last one from my side. You've just mentioned there would be 2 debuts tomorrow. So as a captain, what would your message be to both the debutants?
I think just reiterating what I said earlier is that, you get into this squad by playing a certain way. You then get into the team by doing the same thing. So we don't want them to change their game. We're obviously missing Paul Sterling and Lorcan Tucker. We don't want Ross to come in and play like Paul Sterling or Stephen to come in and play like Lorcan. We want them to play their own natural way. That's got them to this position, and hopefully they'll be successful doing that at an international level.
Thanks, Andy. Wishing you and the guys best of luck.
Thank you.
Last question's Nathan Johns.
Sorry, just because you gave us some of the team there, just out of curiosity, is Tyrone Kane back in the side?
Yeah, Tyrone will bat at 7 tomorrow. It'll obviously, down the back end, middle order to late order can change, but he'll get a run at sort of that, ideally towards the back end, because the way he's played, he obviously batted in the Interpros in a different position, a bit higher, but he's got that sort of power game that we like the look of, and he'll get a run tomorrow.
And then finally, just obviously you touched on it earlier, the kind of the newness of players missing series, and that it's going to become a consistent thing. Maybe not so much here, because obviously the 3 guys come back for the ODIs, but Josh is going to miss, if it happens, the Red Bull game in Bangladesh and potentially Sri Lanka if that goes ahead, and obviously that's quite big. Not so much about him specifically, but just about the squad. Like, do you have to have conversations with the squad to kind of make sure everyone's on board with players missing time, or does everybody understand that these are incredibly unique opportunities for players, and there's not begrudgery, but if you kind of get what I mean, there's no ill feeling towards players missing game time within the squad, that is?
No, I understand, and we had a brief chat about it as a squad, and that we have a lot of talented cricketers in the side, and I think if anything, it shows what can happen. In the space of 12 months, Josh has become a kind of a regular at these big tournaments, and the IPL. Certainly when I was watching it, I got such a buzz from it, having known him since he kind of went through school, and I've always Pembroke member as well. I always kept an eye on him, and I think everyone's just thrilled for him. I don't think there's any begrudgery. It's obviously it's a life-changing thing that's happened to him. We hope it stays injury-free and he can enjoy a really successful couple of tournaments at the PSL and IPL. It's certainly different because we don't have the most players in the world. We are kind of a small player pool, and but you have to also understand that sort of thing is life-changing, and you have to just accept that you won't get him maybe all the time you want him, and you just got to wish him the best. And whenever we do get him, hopefully he can put in amazing performances for us and lead that sort of bowling attack.
Thanks, Andy. Best of luck.
Cheers, Nathan.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Andy. That's
Cheers.
it for today.
Thanks, Andy. Best of luck. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you.
See you. Best
Thanks,
of luck.
Andy.
Bye. Thanks, Craig.
I'll put this recording on Google Drive shortly.
Thanks, Craig.
Okay, thanks all.
Cheers.
Thanks, Greg.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.